Okay, mic check 1 2 1 2. Mic check 1 2. Okay, welcome everyone to the Pro Trade Room Plus. We're here for the FOMC statement. My name is Lee Goldstein. I'm the trading director for 10-minute trades. Please remember, I'm not a financial advisor. It is possible to lose money trading futures. All the trades we discuss are for educational purposes, so please trade very carefully. All right, we're getting started for the big one. One of the biggest reports should be a doozy. All right, I think you should be able to see everything, so we'll go over all of the things that we got going. So, looking at the NQ on the left, YM on the right, and a micro gold on the far right. And I'm also keeping an eye on investing.com to see if they change the interest rate, which we don't anticipate there is going to be any change. The big deal is probably going to be the comments that they make. No one is expecting a rate cut, but they could surprise the market. It's possible. You know, they are they're saying on Financial Juice it's a 96% chance that they're not going to change anything. 96%. That's quite a bit. That's quite a bit. So these markets may not be tradable. We'll have to see. We'll see what the volatility is like. We have a setup. Um, right now, the NQ is really starting to pick up in volatility. I'm watching the YM also because we actually have a YM setup well after the trade's over. I think we did it last quarter and it didn't work, if I remember correctly. Not last quarter, last session. We had a YM setup. It's a range trade and it didn't work. I'm almost positive it didn't work. Let's see, I'm pretty sure I have a video here. Let's see what this video shows. Sometimes things don't work. It happens. Yeah, the range start time was 20. We were ending it at 24.50. Yep, I do remember that now. I mean, Chantal and I did talk about it. So if you're willing to do it, and she tested it and still likes it, she still likes it. So let me make a couple of notes because I don't think my template is going to be loadable. So you have 3 ticks above the range, 3 ticks below the range. You know what? I have this all done already. I've got so many notes. We do so much testing. After a while, sometimes I wind up in a different year. Yeah, I have all this testing. Okay, I don't need my notes. I don't need to make notes. My battery on my laptop is going to go dead. That's 100%. Okay, can't keep up with all this technology. It's just not possible. So maybe we'll stick around for the YM. We'll see. Let's see how the trade goes on the NQ. Start the range at 1420, end it at 1424. It's all a question if I'm not sure I want to stick around that long this afternoon. So here's what happened in our regular trade. And it was pretty volatile markets. Pretty volatile markets. Hi, Chantal. We were just talking about you. So last month, it got calm before the news came out, and boom, it was a great trade. It was just a perfect breakout. Margins are up for this report, and this is, I think, stratospheric risk today. Why do I think it's special risk? Because there's so much attention being put on their every little comment that they make, every little word that they say. I really think that it's just going to create lots of risk. And this report is very risky to trade anyway. Uh, it's very difficult to get a perfect setup. You have a lot of instruments that could move. Gold could move, the YM could move, bonds could move, ES could move, international currencies can move. Really, it is a report, it is a news event that all markets can move. So it can be difficult to have a setup that's the same every month. And it's not quite a month because keep in mind that Fed meets 8 times a year. So it's not 12 times, it's 8 times. After this meeting, they won't meet again until after the summer's over. I think late September, if I got it right. So there is a setup. There is a setup. There is a DMM. Let me show it to you. But I'm going to preface it. I'm going to say it multiple times. This is serious, serious risk where a trade can go haywire. Um, I would not trade the ES with that setup. Okay? Do not trade the ES with that setup today. You could see that the NQ has been a very good setup. Look at the size of the moves also. These are really big moves. They are big, big moves. 280 ticks, 192 ticks. That's crazy stuff. That's not small moves. 392 ticks. September 22 of 2022 was catastrophic. I remember that trade was the trade. I never lost more money on a trade than on that one. That was the worst trade I ever had in my whole life. So, high risk. The nice thing about having prop accounts on a report like this is that you don't have to think about margin. You can just trade normally. If you want to trade, if you can trade 3 or 4 contracts in your prop account, then the fact that the brokers raise margin does not matter. You can still trade. So you have an 80 tick stop on this report. That's $400 on one contract in cash. Okay. This also, just keep in mind, this is the kind of report that you could get such unusual movement. It would be possible that it could blow up a prop account in one trade. It would be possible. So you got to keep that in mind. Um, this is, I'm not joking when I say this is a lot of risk, especially today. And it's because they're looking at every single sentence, every dot, every crossed T, every dotted I that the Fed says. Let's look at 2 months ago. So that was June. Let's look at May and see what happened there. So let's see, in May we were trading bonds that going for something a little bit different. Trading bonds. I'm just curious, maybe let me see, keep going in the video. Oh, you know what? I think we were testing bonds. Yeah, we were testing bonds and trading the NQ. All right, let's see what happened in May. Now, usually, this is not a report that you get filled early on. It usually responds right after 2 p.m. Eastern Time. And May just didn't work. It just went one direction and then changed. Bonds didn't work at all. The NQ struggled to start, and then it looks like that didn't work also. It just didn't have a good follow through. And then I was thinking possible gold could move on this report pretty strongly as well. So I had set up an after the news gold setup, a discretionary trade on gold. I'm just watching the price action, that's all. So May was not a great event. One of the few that hasn't been. I'm trying to figure out why it said that it was. I know why, because sometimes we've used a significantly different bracket. That's why. That's why. All right. So the setup that I'm going to use, and I am going to trade in my Buell Knox account, and I'm going to trade the DMM pretty much as is. I like that setup. When it works, it's a good setup. So I'm going to trigger at 1359.59. 1359.59. I'm going to use a bracket of 80. And I've got 2 targets. I have a target of 40 and I have a target of 80. I have a target of 80. and my stop is 80. And I'm going to label it NQBRK, NQBRK. Why does my clock say it's almost 2 p.m.? I'll check in a minute. Maybe it was in a video. Maybe that was from a video because my clock isn't even on, Ben. It's not even on the screen. That was probably from a video, previous video. Um, so that's the setup. If it hits the first target, I'm definitely going to protect some of that profit, and I'll move the stop to break even plus 20. See, I don't even have my clock on. Here's the correct time. Correct time is 20 of. That's the correct time. That was a video. That's all. Okay. So break even plus 20 on target one stop move. I'm going to check my bracket width by setting the time to 0. And I definitely recognize that this could do a lot of damage to my Buellnox account, which would be a shame because it's been building up rather nicely. But what fun is life if you can't live it to the fullest? And I really live my life to the fullest. All right, so let's check our brackets. And right now the market seems to have calmed down a little bit. It's not that crazy. It's a big bracket also. It shouldn't be an issue. It's really a question if we get a good move in one direction or not. That's really what's going to help determine whether this works. So 1359.59 on the trigger. And we've got targets of 40 and 80 with a bracket of 80 and a stop of 80. 80 is the magic number today. If they surprise the market, I would think we'd get a good explosion in one direction. If they surprise the market, I think it's possible. They could surprise the market. I don't think they will, but it's possible. There were some surprises over the period of rate increases. There definitely have been some surprises. I'm just saving my template. FOMC NQ. I can't believe it's already, the summer is over. July 31st. Wow. That is sad. Summer is gone. What a shame. Check my connections. All right, so let's get it set up properly now. So our time was now back to normal, and I just got to make sure that I trade on the right account. For all the normal folk out there, don't forget, AMP has raised margins. Ninja is raising margins now for this event. Okay, margins are up. So, if you have cash, that's going to definitely affect the sizes that you can trade. And I think it does make sense to have a secondary reversal continuation trade setup on the same chart with the same instrument that you're trading for the event. I think it's really helpful to have one chart like that. So the NQ reversal continuation in the same account. You don't want to change accounts because then you might not see your orders. Keep everything consistent so you can see it. And I would do probably a profit of 50 ticks at least and a stop of 40 because there could be real significant moves here if you're able to take advantage of it. So reversal continuation, the only thing that matters is a position, a target, and a stop. Everything else is ignored. Time is ignored. All that doesn't matter. Just call it reversal, reversal, whatever you want to call it, so you know what it is. And that's how I'm going to do this trade. I'll watch gold on the right, but I'm not going to trade it. And everybody should check their time sync, please, by going to the website time.is. That checks your sync. Although this report, it's not going to be a nanosecond, or usually this is not the type of report that sync is as important as, say, a jobs report. But that doesn't matter to me. I still follow the same rules and like to do the same things. So just for fun, let's look at what happened way back in November. What happened in November? How were we trading it? And what happened? My laptop battery is just dying. I have a broken, I want to get this laptop fixed. I love this laptop, but the battery, I think it needs a new motherboard. And if it needs a new motherboard, I'm not going to get it fixed. It's not worth it. It's a shame. It's a really nice Samsung. Before they added the OLED screens, though, so it's a little bit old and slower, right? You know what? I'm throwing it away. Forget it. It's not worth it. Back in November is what I was looking for. Let's see what happened. Just trading the MNQ in November. So please remember, this is a report. Most everybody should just watch it. Now, that was micros, and we did get a profit, even though it was a very whippy kind of move. We were able to get a profit out of that. But you can see that you can get some strange kind of behavior. Now, it might be that because everybody's expecting everything so important that it's a very mild-mannered result. Sometimes when you're expecting the craziest, highest risk, you just get the complete opposite and you get the most mild-mannered result ever in the history of markets. So that could happen. It's kind of funny, but we see that happen quite a bit. And then I have to say, we will be back for this has been some day, folks. I'm exhausted. We started with Boeing. Um, we had ADP, we had the Employment Cost Index, pending home sales, oil, Chicago PMI, FOMC, and then we have Qualcomm and Meta trading the same day. So that is going to be very interesting earnings. Is anybody, no one in here is on YouTube, I would assume. If somebody can hear me, send me a message from YouTube because my laptop died and I hope that everything should still be streaming. I just can't monitor it. Okay. So, okay, good, good, good. Brendan, thank you. Everybody can hear me and see me on YouTube. That's good. So we're just watching the market. There's a little bit of volatility. The NQ very, very bullish today. The YM very bullish today. Gold very bullish today. These markets are really something else. They're really something else. That's the truth. So I was listening to an interesting situation, which is so common. An investor, has a lot of money in the market, and the financial crisis comes, and of course they sell 90% of everything they had in the market and lose a fortune. And then, of course, the market comes roaring back eventually. It might be a year or two, but it comes roaring back. And they're not in the market for the roaring back. So they never get their money back. And it's kind of the fallacy of everybody that says, "Oh, just, if you put your money in the S&P, you'll be fine." The problem is people panic and sell at the worst times. And then when it roars back, they're not in it to get the money back that they lost when they sold. And that it's a shame. That is a shame. And I know we've all done it. Sold, even though it's roaring back. And we do have a YM. YM's going to test that high. Now, that's not a great magnet because the YM recently tested that high two times before we got here. All right. Not a good magnet. It's going to work probably because the markets are so bullish and it's already there. It's almost there already. So I recorded was it an oil? I think I record. Remember I said oil was going to hit the high of the day and it was going to be a magnet? Well, it took like an hour and 45 minutes and eventually oil did hit that high. Remember we took the magnet in the trade room for the trade. Well, I recorded for like an hour and a half and it didn't stop out. It stayed up, but it was a long, long trade. So we've got 5 minutes watching the interest rate, the Fed. Everybody thinks the Fed, everyone is so focused, focused on the Fed, and nobody really knows what the Fed does. It's very interesting. It's a secret cult. The Fed is actually a secret cult. So I don't, it's kind of ironic, they can cut. We talk about this all the time. They can cut from today until we get to Kalamazoo, and it's not going to make prices better for people. That's the problem. How do you get the prices to come down? That's the problem. Once the prices go up, the prices never come down. Caesar, I think I'm trading it in my prop account because it could blow it up. I recognize that. I think it's too risky to trade it as a cash trade today. I think it's very high risk because of all the attention being paid on the Fed. I think it's risky. You don't have to trade the super risky trades. You're allowed to watch. That's the truth. You could trade micros with our setup. I think the DMM with micros is fine. But even micros, you could get a 300 tick, what a 300 tick move. It could move really fast. I mean, right now the market, I would say that it's to me, that's not super volatility. It moved in a trending way before the news came out right here, from almost 20 minutes ago, but it's not super fast and whippy. So to me, that's less it's manageable volatility the way it's behaving right now. Yeah, it's like when taxes, it's pretty rare that they lower taxes, right? Unless, you're really, really rich. The rich get their taxes cut. Regular people, no. We don't get our taxes cut. And it seems the price of gasoline doesn't go down go down for a month. It'll make a few headlines and then it'll start going back up. But I mean, really, the honest truth is look at the price of food. Normal people shop in the supermarket, politicians don't. So politicians have no idea about the cost of food. They don't have a clue because they don't go to the supermarket. They drive around in limousines. They don't live like we live. Come on. When people finally realize that, they'll realize how stupid their idiotic ideas are. Politicians don't live the way we live. Athletes don't live the way we live. Musicians don't live the way we live. They live in a rarefied air, totally different world of the uber rich. It's a completely different society. But trust me, who was the president that didn't even know how to shop in the supermarket? I think it was Bush. He didn't even know how to shop in the supermarket. It's mind-boggling. All right, 1 minute to go. That's my rant. That's my rant for the week. So we're going to have a big bracket. It's a pretty quiet market considering it's a Fed decision, really. It's very quiet. It's funny. The NQ's up 487 points. That's crazy. Okay, there's our bracket. What did I tell you? What I tell you could blow up just and ruin the account. That's exactly what it did. Terrible, terrible move. Terrible, terrible move. You couldn't have a worse move. Well, you could. Just a terrible move. That's too bad. It could have been a normal move. They left the rates exactly the same, but that's absolutely why I did not want to trade it in my cash account because I can build this account back up. It didn't blow it up. So look at gold. Gold is moving rather nicely, moving to the downside. It's probably going to test the VWAP there. The Fed does not want to lower rates until they have confidence that inflation is going to hit the target. That's one of the comments they made. Fed inflation remains somewhat elevated. One of the problems is I don't think they all agree either. I don't think they all agree. I think that's true. Now I'm just watching the market. So it really was just a whippy candle. Calvin, you got it to work on yours. Okay, I used a bigger bracket, and you used a much, much bigger stop. Much, much bigger stop. So good for you. Good for you. I mean, my trade worked perfectly last month, so it is what it is. Let's look at the video before we go. And then we will be back at 3:30 for earnings. And that is a cash account trade. All right, let me show you the video. These are the reports. There are certain reports that you're much better off leaving them alone, right? And I mean, look, last month we traded this, and last month it was very volatile before the news. Most people couldn't trade it, it was too volatile. You don't have to trade these. There's plenty of normal moving reports that don't create all this chaos. You just don't have to. Let's take a look at the video. Now my stop wasn't small. Calvin, yours, oh, you used a 200 tick stop. Okay. That's gigantic stop. That's almost like not using a stop. All right, so here's what happened. Food inflation is very high. It's very high. The cost of food is amazingly high. So I really thought it was going to push up, and then it just did a whipsaw. I really thought it was going to push up. I truly thought about canceling it for a second there. There's not a lot you can do when you get that kind of move, except use a 200 tick stop. It's $1,000 a contract. Very, very whippy reaction to the news. All right, so we've got earnings, and we have let me just put my charts. So it still looks to me like the NQ is now going to go test the high. I think it's going to do a magnet right here, right? So let's say you want to do a low risk trade, MNQ, put a high a day magnet trade on, get rid of my existing setups, magnet, high of day, 7%. I'm going to do it at 10%. 30 ticks, I'm going to put on just 2 contracts, stop of 30. All right, I'm going to put on the magnet. If I'm too late, I think I'm too late already. Nope, the YM's too late. Put it in my JOBB account, apply it, okay it, turn it on. When you enable the magnet, that's going to be my fill. It's right where we are right now. See, it's blinking. I think it's a little bit far away. It's a little bit far away. I'd like that magnet to be a tiny bit higher. So let me see if I have enough time to change it. I'm going to make it 6% on the proximity. Put it back on. So it'll be 476 fill. That might even be far. It's a little risky to try and do it right after the FOMC. No, you can't trap trade this report, RJ. Look at the size of the moves. 300 ticks, 180 ticks 1 month. There's no, I mean, only the most experienced expert in an at the moment trap trade. I only know one person who could do that as a trap trade. But to set up a general trap trade for that, it would be almost impossible. And it's because you don't have consistency on the size of the moves. You need consistency on the size of the move to have trap trades that work. Because otherwise, you choose your tiers, and 1 month it'll blow through the tiers and stop you out, and then the next month it'll work. So we do have that YM range trade that we've been testing. So if folks want to I'll hang around for another 15 or 20 minutes. So let me show you what this YM range trade is, okay? It's a test that we've been doing. So it's a breakout, it's a range trade, all right? I may have to look at my notes. It's a range trade, and I'm keeping the stream going, everyone on YouTube. So this is a test that we're doing, and it's 1420. We're starting the range, okay? 220. We're just doing 3 ticks above the range. We almost don't care about the bracket. It's just a very time-oriented trade, and we're ending the range. Let me check my notes. 1424.50. So we're creating like a 4 minute range, a little bit longer. And then we've got two sets of targets, and we've got targets of, I'm going to use, I slightly modified it when we did our testing, 25 and 50. And the stop is 40, but it's really the other side of the range, okay? If the range gets broken on the opposite side, then you want to exit. But I'm just testing it, so I'll explain it again very carefully because it's interesting and it's been working. Not every time, but it looks interesting. So the reason it could work is because after the news, the markets often start to go into a trend for part of the rest of the day. All right. And look, it's not always, but it's something we've been looking at and it looks interesting. So it's a range trade. Start the range at 1420. 3 ticks above the range, 3 ticks below the range. Show the graphics on chart. Check that. That just means it'll draw the range. And I've got position 1 is a 1, that means one contract. Position 2 is a 1, that's a second contract. Targets of 25 and 50 ticks with a stop of 40. So nothing will happen. We're going to label it range, YM range. And I'm not live on it, I'm just testing it. I'm saving my live trade for earnings today. So now we're just waiting. All right, you're just waiting for 1420. We have 8 minutes to wait till 1420. Now I still have my magnet trade going. Now if I want to see my orders, I need to make sure I'm on my account. if I want to take it, right? I'm not so sure this is the right time and place for a magnet. Just the price action is not great. The Fed could be speaking still. It's possible, probably not, but it's not really the price action isn't supporting it at the moment. So let's see what happens with our YM. I don't have it on automatic. The beauty of the magnet is if it's not on automatic, I could just watch it. And if it goes and gets filled, what I would do in this instance is sometimes when you create a magnet trade, the closer you get to the magnet, the faster the price starts to move. So I think 4% is way close enough. So let's apply that, okay it, enable it, and it's 489. It's in this area up in here. And it already got there once, but it was part of the trade candle. So if you click the magnet button, it puts it in auto mode. So if it gets to your level, it'll enter your trade. Okay? If you don't click it, then it'll blink purple. Okay, so the range starts at 1420. The range starts at 1420 and it ends at 1424.50. All right? Start at 1420, end at 1424.50. Now, I'm just watching the price action. If it gets more active, I might turn on the auto. It's only micros, it's an $8 trade. But you say it's only prop, it's only micros. It's all money, it's all work, it's all time invested. You got to treat it seriously. Never treat it lightly. You might have different psychology for different trades, different counts, but you should still take it as seriously as a heart attack. And I mean that sincerely. Still has quite a way to go to get cracking there. It's been a hard day. So at 1420, the YM will start drawing a range, and we will wait 4 minutes and 50 seconds for it to finish creating that range. And then if it breaks out of the range or drops down out of it, that's what creates the trade. How do they ever get prices down? I don't know. Here's another rant we can go on. If you want to really go on a rant, if you try to eat healthy, right? Try to eat healthy. First of all, if you believe that eating chemicals that last forever are not good for you, then we could probably have this conversation about diet. In other words, if you believe in a healthy diet, then I think a healthy diet is pretty radical. If you accept the fact that most of the oils that they put in our food are very dangerous and not good for you, then we can have this conversation. So I believe that almost all the oils we put in our bodies are, most of them are not even food. And they are, used in the planting process, but all these palm oils and soybean oils and these weird oils are really bad for you. And most serious dietitians agree to that. There's a lot of argument about whether olive oil is good for you or not. And there's argument about that because a lot of people believe it's a healthy oil. I have followed a doctor who does not believe that. He's a leading diet doctor who unfortunately just died. His diet killed him. No. But he believed no oil is a good oil. And he believes that it was all proven, everything that he said was proven by his results, by his patients. He saved many patients with diet, and he believes it. And I think was a very honorable person. Whether you agree with him or not, I think most serious dietitians, most serious people who aren't on the payroll of the oil companies and the big food conglomerates would agree that most of what we eat is what kills us and causes all our diseases. Because the way they plant and the way they farm, it's unhealthy, and we all know it. We all don't want to agree to it, but I think that's probably true. I don't even know what the point of this was anymore. I forgot. What was the point of this? I don't know. Um, I don't remember what I was going to say, what my point was. Part of the point is that all of these oils that we eat, all this. Oh, what I was going to say, get on a new rant. My new rant is healthy food. Trying to they just opened a new market near me, Sprouts, and it's a really nice market. Really good produce, and produce. I guess if you wash it good and get the pesticides off it, you're probably okay, right? Um, but I think produce, we all could agree that vegetables and most fruits are probably good for you. Most people wouldn't argue about that. But when you look at the food, like this whole portion of the food industry that's non-meat, the non-meat portion of the food industry, if you look at the ingredients in the food, it's all of these horrible oils. And I think the rant is that you try to eat healthy, but they make it so you can't. If you don't farm your own food, it's probably impossible to eat healthy. That's my rant. That was my point. I don't know what the point is. I think most people would agree that it's the food that kills us. What do we eat? Chips and popcorn and stupid stuff. Fritos, sour cream dip. Hey, we forgot our range is now drawing, right? See what happened at 1420? You didn't get in taken into a trade, so you still can watch it and decide, well, is it going to work? Right now it's just creating the range, all right? It hasn't made a decision on direction. It looks like this market wants to still go up. So that range is going to get drawn until 1450. 1424.50. Let me be clear about the time the range ends. 1424.50. The pending orders, Ben, would be 3 ticks above the range, 3 ticks below the range. The way the range trade works, remember how the range trade works. So our pending orders are the line on top of the range. That's where the order is going to be when it's done calculating. That's where the long order will be. And the bottom line is where the short order will be. Once you enter the range trade and you enable it, you are creating pending orders based on the way the range calculates itself. So when the range is done creating the range at 1424.50, the orders will be put on the chart. The bottom line is the short and the top line is the long. So in a sense, yes, you have pending orders, but you don't know what they are yet. You're waiting for the range to calculate. That's how the range trade works. It's a pretty big range. And Chantal is saying, take it live or you'll regret it. Okay. I regret a lot of things. I regret eating those oils. That's what I really regret. My whole body hurts. Shansi, who's Shansi? Hey Shansi, what's up? All right, we're just waiting, and I'm still watching that magnet trade. See, a magnet trade's supposed to happen fast. It's not supposed to take 100 hours. That's not my favorite kind of magnet trade. They still can work. Don't get me wrong. I think it's going to work. So let's put that magnet trade on auto, and we'll keep an eye on it. Okay, there's our range orders on the YM. Let's see what happens. I don't know. I want to keep my job. I had the stupidest thing went through my mind. Just, it was like a comedy routine for traders, but it might not work. So I'll keep it to myself. So we're watching the YM. It has to break out of the range. Now, at the moment, see, we don't know what direction our trade's going to be. At first, I thought it would have been long. Now, the NQ magnet trade might should be turned off. It's just not quite what it should be. It should have been over. See, this is, while yes, there is a trend, it's a slow one. And I suppose you could say the YM still has a trend. The trend is your friend. Yuck. All right. So it's starting to look like the YM is going to fill to the short side. So I'm going to turn off my magnet to the long side on my NQ, even though they could go different directions. And again, the magnet, you could always turn it back on. So it just missed getting filled by 3 ticks. Those +3. Oh, no trade right at 2:30. Very, very good point. Once the news conference starts, cancel if you don't get filled. If we have no fill, do you want to wait till 2:30? Because once that news conference starts, the price action changes because they just start 229.30. Okay. They just start reacting to the commentary. So you're not trading the market the same way anymore. All right. So it may not make it. There may be no trade. We only have 30 seconds. So if you want to cancel a trade, you can cancel the X by checking the X, or you could cancel it up in the enabled box by unchecking it in the enabled box. So this is a no fill for the YM range trade. And I would have to say the same is true of the magnet because the Fed talking is going to supercharge the market, right? But it could make it move up and down. It could make it so you get filled and it pulls back. It's not the smartest time to take a normal trade, right? If you trade the news conference, that's a different thing because it's not your typical price action. It's different. Honestly, it's different. So I would, it's interesting. The market's acting like it wants to test the high right before he talks. But I made my decision not to do it. All right. So no fill. No fill. He's already talking. Okay, folks. We'll be back. Thank you, everyone on YouTube. Hope you enjoyed what we do here. We do a lot besides just taking a simple trade. So I'm going to turn off the stream. Thank you, everybody. Hit the like button if you would, and we'll see you next time. Tomorrow we'll be streaming. Take care, everyone.